In this episode, I'm going to show you how some cheap photocopy prints are going to help you lay out your photo zine, and we're going to get started right now. Hey, so what's up guys? This is Nick from Nick Expose, and like I said in the intro, we're going to use some cheap prints. We're going to lay them out on the table, and I'm going to show you the exact process that I went through for laying out my initial zine design, and just show you some quick tips and tricks on how you can make this process super simple, easy, quick, to the point, so that way when you do go into a program like Photoshop or InDesign, you have everything laid out initially, and that process will be much more easy having this step done. So I'm going to try and make this a bite-sized video. We're going to jump into the overhead camera and just get started right now. All right guys, so here we are. I'm going to try and lay this out as simple and plain as possible. I'm going to try to make this super quick, and then if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to leave those in the comments below. But what we're looking at here is, these are just like Xerox prints, or these are this is actually like laser printed, and you could get these made anywhere. I have a laser printer at home, so I just make them on copy paper at home. You can get them at the library or wherever, Kinko's, anywhere. And what it is it's two of these, come from an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and then I just cut that sheet of paper in half. I actually cut some like jagged edges in them. I wanted them to be very imperfect, because what you do to these is intentionally destroy them to build the zine. But you have all the different images, so this is actually for the next zine that I have that I'm laying out. These are not culled through yet, but what you would do is you would lay all these out on the table, and you would start to see, so I'm just going to kind of lay them out like this. You'd start to see how different images start to tell the story that you want to tell with your zine. So a big key here is knowing what you want to say with your zine. So like I mentioned in the last video, for my Kind of Town zine, I wanted to tell the story of like a jazz song with the images telling the like musical notes. You could look at the last video, I explain it a lot more in depth in there. But whatever you want to answer, whatever question you want to answer, or whatever story you want to tell with your zine, you start to go through and see how different images pair together to tell that story. So just for the sake of time, let's say these two, let's say I want to tell a story about hats, right? Anyways, these two, when you find the images that you want to pair well together, or that do pair well together, you would just fold that up, and then you would go, so let's say these two images, and these are by no means how my my actual zine is going to get laid out, but this is the process that you would go through for laying it out. Let's say you want to do a triptych, and again, like I said, these images are not going together, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to do that. And you would start to build a bunch of leaflets. If you want an image to be a standalone image, so in my upcoming zine, this will be a standalone image, just fold that by itself, and that will be a standalone leaflet. And what essentially these end up being is the different spreads that will go together to build up your zine. So I'm going to move all these off to the side. Then you end up with a nice stack like so. What happens here then is, I'm actually going to move these off screen. You start to go through and you start to lay all these out, your different stacks of zine layouts. You start to lay all those out on the table, and you start to see how the different pages start to come together. So one of the things that I mentioned in the last video is knowing where you want to start and end your zine. So for example, with the Chicago zine, I knew I wanted to start with this image and end with this image. So those go as the bookends of the rest of the spreads. Then everything else gets laid out in there according to how you want your storyline to go. So after all was said and done, and you figured out what your layout was going to be, you start number them 1, 2, 3, and so on. Then you start going through, and for each of the pages, now that you have it all laid out, you start going in and actually making design notes in here. So this is obviously the first page. So if you see in here, this says second page, this says left bottom. I knew that I wanted to put this off to the left bottom, and then right top. The other page, black and blank. So actually, if you see, this is the actual layout in the zine. This image ended up on the left bottom, the right top, black, black. These are the notes that I was making. on the zine layouts as I was going through. That would move off to this pile. Next one would come up. And again, you're just gonna go through, and as you're seeing how you want your zine to flow and how you want these images to correlate. So I knew that I wanted this to be on the left side. I knew that I wanted this to be on the right side. They ended up exactly like that. Some of these pages I actually started putting together. So this one I put on the right, this one I put on the left. In the final version, it actually got switched up. So you're not doing finalized edits here, you're just doing the initial edits, and I really strongly suggest that you do this within like 30 minutes to 45 minutes at a coffee shop or wherever you need to do it. But do it nice and quick to where you can make more changes later on. So from this point you have each of your different pamphlets. They're labeled to the numbers. These are all mixed up now that I've been messing with them. But you're gonna translate that onto screen. That's what the next video where we go into Photoshop and other programs, that's where you start to actually lay it out digitally. And then we're gonna move from here to that to this here. So once we have all those layouts put together on screen, we're actually gonna print just sample spreads. So again, this is just 8.5 by 11 cheap printer paper, and I'm just printing out the initial spreads. So you can see here, here's a spread, here's the spread that I was mentioning earlier. And these are laid out with either black background or white background, or however you want them laid out, to where it will start to look like it's coming together to be a zine. So one of the reasons why you want these leaflets and why you want all these loose leaf spreads is because you can actually start going through and start seeing how the zine starts to flow together from page to page. And if this page doesn't work well after this page, you can easily switch it out for, I don't know, this page, you know, and see how that flows. And you could start switching and swapping and seeing how the flow will change by moving different spreads to different parts of the layout. Again, like I said, any questions that you guys have, leave those down below. This isn't supposed to be a comprehensive guide part to this. I actually would rather you guys just experiment and play around with your own versus me actually going through and giving you a step by step by step by step, this and this and this. What tends to happen is you'll start to replicate the process that I show you versus finding your own process. And it is very important, at least in this step, to find your own process and to see how things flow and move and just change naturally as you go throughout your zine. So then lastly, once you get through and you get kind of a finalized version of this, you're gonna go back into whatever program you use to make your digital zine. You're gonna make those changes in there. You're gonna export that file, you're gonna send it over to your printer, and your printer is gonna send you back something like this. And I showed this in the last zine episode, but to just kind of briefly recap again, this is just a printer proof. Again, I love that the printer left these wide margins on there because you're gonna be making a lot of notes as you go through and design your zine, and that is okay. You should be making a lot of notes. This thing should turn out how you want it to turn out. You should be extremely happy with the end product, and you should not be ashamed of putting in extra time and effort in all these different processes. So once it gets into this point, again, this is not a finalized thing. You can make it whatever changes you want. I actually got into this version of the proof and decided that some of the, actually I went through it last time. I renumbered all of the different spreads, and some of them did not end up where they were in this spread. So one last recap here. You start off with these, you fold them up, you find which images work together, you build little pamphlets or leaflets that start to become the spreads. You start to go through these, you number them out to see how your spread's gonna initially start to flow, and then you start going in and you start making just little design notes on the margins here, letting yourself know when you get into the actual design process, everything's a little premeditated, and it makes that whole process on the screen much quicker. Then you go from the screen back into print, you get these leaflets, you start playing around with the actual layout, with the flow of the zine. You start to see that everything is working and moving in the way that you want it to. You finalize that on the computer, send it to the printer, they send you one of these back, you make your next set of revisions, you send that back. If you need to make another set of revisions after that, you do so. And then finally, at the end of all of the revisions and everything, you get a zine that you're extremely proud of, that you've put together, that tells a story that you want to tell, and yeah. All right, guys, I hope that helped. I know we ran through the process like super quick. I was trying to keep it a nice short video for you guys. So if you do have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments below. The whole thing with this process is it should be fun. This should be just a way to really kind of go through, experience your work in a new way, and just really kind of cull through in a different way than just seeing it on the screen. So like I said, in the next video, we're gonna go onto the screen, we're gonna go into the programs, design this stuff out. But in the meantime, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this process. I'd love to hear if you have any other good tips and tricks for laying out zines and how maybe you put them up on the wall, maybe you spread them out on the floor, but I'd love to hear how you go through and either cull through your zines or your book projects or your exhibitions or anything like that. So leave that in the comments below as well. If you're new to the channel, I have tons of other videos. I have an entire zine series that we're in the middle of, so if you're wondering what this video is all about, that's exactly what it is. This is, I think, part 4 of it, and I think I have at least 2 more videos coming out after this one. If you find this content useful or helpful or enjoyable, feel free to share it with your friends, social media, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, any of that kind of stuff. And I really do appreciate you guys tuning in for this. I appreciate the comments that you leave below. I love hearing that more and more people are building zines and that this series is like inspiring zines, and that's exactly what I wanted from it. It makes me so happy. So continue to share those with me. I'd love to see the zines as they get finished. So thank you guys once again. I will see you on the next video. Until then, shoot more film and print more zines. Peace.